Tell It Right podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome to episode 68 of Tell It Right podcast. I'm Mike, and welcome. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Make sure you do check out www.tellitrightpodcast.com. There you can leave us comments, anything you see on the internet, throw us links there. We'll talk about it. Any comments that you have, any suggestions, criticism, whatever you got, throw it there. We'll talk about it. Then also we have content up there that we'll be adding as time goes on, photos, videos, and as well, all of our announcements will be up there. So if there's for any reason we're not going to record or whatever, it'll be up there. So check it out, www.tellitrightpodcast.com. And two, it's an easy way to get to the podcast as well as to all of our social media. So again, www.tellitrightpodcast.com. If you are a first-time subscriber, hit that subscribe button so you do get all the latest shows. But otherwise, if you are a long-time listener, thank you for your support. I greatly appreciate it, and keep it up. So, all right. So what are we going to talk about today? Today. Let me try to pull up my Word document because my computer is the worst. Oh, cool. It's blank. Got nothing to talk about. Last weekend was St. Patrick's Day. I hope, it's day everybody's Irish. Doesn't matter what you are, you're Irish on that day. And, it makes sense because, I learned some history on St. Patrick. It's very interesting. St. Patrick wasn't Irish. I always thought he was. I always thought he was like this leprechaun guy that they really never knew what the story of St. Patrick was until literally this year, 2024. Till I was today years old. I learned that St. Patrick was an Italian man that came to Ireland and I guess got rid of all the snakes. I don't know what the hell that means. Like, if he literally got rid of snakes or if snakes were a metaphor for like corruption and shit. Could it have been hookers? Could it have just been greedy sons of bitches? I don't know. This would be a good time for an Irish person to jump on www.tellitrightpodcast.com and say, "Hey, Mike, this is the reason. This is what St. Patty got rid of here in Ireland." I don't know exactly, but he got rid of the snakes, and the Irish and everybody, I guess, get drunk every year on March 17th. So my uncle had people over on the night before on Saturday, so that was a blast. It was good to see the family, good to see old family friends, catch up with people. My uncle Bill, that crazy son of a bitch, he pulled a ski out, and we're like, "What the hell are you doing with that?" Like there's no snow out. What the hell are you doing with the ski? I guess there's this thing called the shot ski. And he used to do it when he was in college years ago. And so you put shots, you space them out all over on the ski, and then like everybody would have to like tip it over all at the same time without dropping the shot glass. However, he made it easy. He put little sticky tapes on there, so the shot glass didn't go anywhere. So everybody was able to do it. Except I was distracting one of their friends in in a conversation, so there was one spill. That I'm going to take responsibility for that. Not that I was supposed to be drinking at that time, but I did distract the guy from being on his post. So sorry about that. Um, Otherwise, yeah, I got pretty drunk. I'm not a big corned beef and cabbage guy. I guess that's more of an American thing. I think from what I understood, a lot of Irish were coming to the United States. All they were eating were potatoes. Corned beef was pretty cheap, so coming to America, having that availability to get corned beef, that just became once Irish came to America, that became a Irish staple because it was available and it was meat, not potato. So that's kind of why that is, and I don't like it. I'm not saying like hey, change the tradition. I just don't like corned beef. It's got weird texture. I know it's just like sits in like a salt brine liquid, but it's not my cup of tea. So I ended up getting some pizza from a place called Nona's, and that was excellent. I enjoyed that. That was a good pizza. They're supposed to be the world's largest slice, but every place says that, so I don't know who's telling the truth and who's not. But it's a pretty big slice, and I think if you like eat like two of them in like 30 minutes, you get like a free T-shirt. I always wanted to do that as a kid, but yeah, it's a lot of fucking dough. You can't do it. It's crazy. People do it though, and they get their picture on the wall. I did do the Buffalo Wild Wings challenge once. I regret that every second of that. That was the worst next day. It was worse. It was the worst. Yeah. I mean, like, I was able to do the challenge. I got my picture taken and I was on the wall, but like the aftermath was just like killer on my body. Like that hot sauce, just like, ugh. So, so, anyways, my St. Patrick's Day was a success. I don't normally go out. I went out, hung out with my family. I didn't go to a bar like all the little college kids do, but hung out with my family, listened to some Irish tunes, got drunk, then I got pizza afterwards. So that's a fucking win for me. I don't know about you guys, but let me know. www.tellitrightpodcast.com. So yeah, let's get into some topics here. Okay, I did have these up. I think I still do. Let's go to the next window. That's gonna take forever to load up. Jesus Christ, I need a new computer. I like want a gaming computer. I want to play Fortnite. I want to beat the shit out of little kids that are playing Fortnite across the country. That sounded weird, but I want to play Fortnite. Okay. So on unilad.com, I was I don't go on this website, but I have one of those like smart news apps that just pulls random articles from everywhere. So this one came from Unilad. Now, I clicked on it because I thought it was interesting because the headline reads OnlyFans star sick to her stomach after finding close family member was paying for her X-rated content. So I thought right away, this is weird. This needs to be talked about. There are some fucking creep ass motherfuckers out there, and we're gonna get into this later about the whole Hollywood child star shit with that new documentary or docuseries Quiet on Set. But so this one here, so it says, like most creators, 27-year-old Sharna Beckman has a following largely made up of strangers who have never met her in real life, but are happy to get to know her online. Not actually knowing your followers allows many content creators to separate their work from their day to day life, their family, and then their close relationships. It's likely for this reason that Beckman was so stunned when she realized she recognized the name of one of her subscribers. The OnlyFans star claimed her own cousin, who she'd been close with growing up and still caught up with at family gatherings, had been a subscriber to her page for more than 2 months. So, speaking to Yahoo Lifestyle, Beckman recalled confronting her cousin only to be met with that she would what she deemed was an excuse. So she says in quotes, he tried telling me that it wasn't him. It was actually his friend who was married, so couldn't use his own name or credit cards, she said. And then again in quotes, my cousin apparently kindly offered to share his name and credit card to allow this other guy to join my page. So left sick to her stomach, Beckman made clear that she didn't believe his story and responded to her cousin to ask why would he join OnlyFans and why would he buy additional explicit content from her page. In spite of her anger, Beckman said she decided not to tell her family because she didn't want to cause any awkwardness. So I removed my cousin from my OnlyFans account and blocked his phone messages. I just don't get why he would subscribe in the first place and then use his real name. Like, did he want me to know it was him? And then what? Since finding out about her cousin's subscription, Beckman said she has been making up excuses to avoid going to family events. So she says, I didn't tell my family as I didn't want to cause drama between everyone. I felt super awkward about it, she said, adding, I think it will cause some drama and that he will probably deny it and make me look like a liar. Though she said so though she had some surprises with her followership, Beckman has found success on OnlyFans and now makes six figures each month on the platform. So, yeah, I thought that was interesting. I thought that was fucking weird. Um, why? like, like, like she says, why would you use your fucking real name for one? Like, why would you want to get caught? That's really narcissistic and creepy. But the whole excuse, like, oh yeah, my buddy wants to see your page. So I offered my credit card and my account, so you know, so he doesn't get caught. Like, first red flag there is your buddy's asking to see, like, your buddy's coming to you so he can see your cousin naked on OnlyFans. All right, right off the bat, that's like, if somebody did that to me, I would be like, go fuck yourself. You're a big boy or big girl, whatever. Use your own fucking credit card. Make up your own fucking name. Not my problem, you know. I'm not going to go out of my way so people can see my family naked. That's just weird. Okay, so I mean, the dude the dude's obviously a creep bag, probably has some kind of mental issue if if he feels that he has to see his cousin naked, buy her content, and use his real name. I mean, I've talked to other people about it. I've been getting some smart ass comments like, "Oh yeah, that's fucking support if I've ever seen it." Like, maybe not. I don't know. It's still weird. Like, I get it. Like, you could pose in Playboy and anybody can buy it, so that could be your family members. But like, I think that's a little different in my opinion because there's like no trace to who's buying it, you know? And it's like, it's anonymous. It's just like, you just know because somebody from Playboy told you, oh, you made this many sales, you sold this many issues. And you don't know who the people are because they pay cash or whatever. But like when you're on OnlyFans, literally, I mean, I assume it's like any other fucking service where you can make up a name. So, like a screen name. So obviously, this guy didn't make up. You know, that's the weird part for me is he used his fucking real name. So I don't buy it. I don't buy the whole like I was helping out a buddy. I still think it's fucking weird and creepy. Probably if there's any truth to it, it's probably him and his buddy fucking both beating off in the same fucking room to his cousin, which is even fucking weirder. So yeah, what a world we live in. I mean, trying to fucking make money, and then you got your fucking asshole cousin fucking snooping up your skirt there, literally. I don't know, guys. I don't know, but leave your comments. Let me know what you think about that at www.tellitrightpodcast.com. I am curious to hear what everybody thinks. I mean, I'm probably gonna flip if you keep saying it's fucking support. Anyways, um, what the fuck are we gonna talk about next? So this headline also popped up. This was interesting. This is actually like a Snopes article thing. Um, so growing up, I was a huge Power Rangers fan. I'm not gonna lie, I fucking love Power Rangers. Um, I was there for the first season, and I was there till they went into space. Then I was out. But in those years, I fucking loved it. I looked up to those guys. I always wanted to learn karate and shit. I always always wanted to save the world too. But now I'm here just podcasting. Anyways, but so yeah, the Red Ranger is launching a new line of T-shirts, and I guess there is some controversy with it because he has Hitler quotes on some of this. I'm not fully sure exactly what these shirts look like and how they're set up, but yeah, he's quoting Hitler on these new T-shirts that he's launching. And so the Snopes article is basically saying this is true. Okay, so right off the bat, and the claim is the actor who played the original Red Ranger in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers has announced he's launching a clothing line featuring quotes from Adolf Hitler, which that is true. Austin St. John truly did say he was building a warrior line of clothing featuring famous quotes from warriors, including the terrible ones like Adolf Hitler, who had some pretty good one-liners. So that's messed up. So we'll get into that in a bit. So Austin St. John, the actor perhaps best known as playing Jason, the Red Power Ranger in the original 1993 run of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, was back in the press in March 2024 when reports claimed he was set to launch a line of clothing featuring quotes from Adolf Hitler. As surprising news circulated on Reddit and X, formerly known as Twitter, many fans of the 1990 superhero series rushed to judgment. The Red Power Ranger putting Hitler quotes on his clothing line is not something I had on my bingo card, wrote X user at Danny on PC. Meanwhile, the post on Reddit titled Boycott Austin St. John implored Power Ranger fans to stop supporting him and to please spread awareness of this matter. As it turns out, the actor did say he was planning a t shirt line with quotes from historic warriors, including Hitler. So we rate this claim as true, but to determine whether the former superhero truly intended to glorify the fascist dictator on the apparel line, um, basically Snopes looked to where the news originated. What else does it say? So St. John 49 made an appearance on the episode of Tuned In with Jim Cummings, hosted by voice actor and Disney collaborator Jim Cummings. Around the 56:25 mark of the episode, St. John discussed his clothing line, which he said was available on his personal website. I have some Ranger oriented clothes. Then I'm building a warrior line where I go back in history from pre-Greek days as far back as I can, and I'm going to have famous quotes from warriors of all the likes, including the terrible ones. Hitler was, you know, a demon on steroids, but he had some pretty good one-liners. Um, and then it goes on to talk about how I guess Amy Jo Johnson gets involved. She writes on Twitter, I think some people should have publicists, and has like one of those emoji faces where like the teeth are chattering and it says "Dear Me." So at the end of the day, so like at first I was like, "Holy shit!" Like this guy's like off his rockers. First we lose the Green Ranger. That dude was like everybody's big brother. Um, and then this was the original leader of the Power Rangers before the Green Ranger came around. Anyways, back to this. So I thought it was weird because he's the Red Ranger. He was the original leader of the Power Rangers, and he's being accused of coming out with like these Hitler quotes. But after like really reading this, I guess where he's getting at is he's just taking what he says in quotes warriors from the past and their quotes. And I just like my first red flag is Adolf Hitler wasn't a warrior. He was just a fucking fascist dictator that grew to power and then, I mean, anybody could have probably just killed him, but like nobody did because they respected, loyal to him, and feared him all in one. So Adolf Hitler, I can't imagine actually went out there with like a spear or something or a gun and was starting to kill people during World War II. Absolutely not. He uh, he had people to do that dirty work for him. So I don't know. That's kind of weird, but I get where he's going at with it. He's just taking it's supposed to be this warrior line, but like the other weird thing is he's just like, oh yeah, he's got some good one-liners. Like what? That's fucked up. I mean, that guy manipulated people and got them to think weird shit, and they all followed him, and didn't end well. Did not end well. So I don't know what the deal with that is, but I don't think I'm gonna be buying that. It's just weird. Um, but hey, Austin St. John, hang in there. You know, keep it up. But maybe maybe hold back on the Hitler shit just a tiny bit. Maybe you could just skip that guy and just go over and do everybody else. But that's what like Amy Jo Johnson's saying. Like you should have a publicist because this is kind of coming out like in a weird fucking light. It's coming out as like he fucking loves Hitler, but it's really not that. I can see that. It's just kind of coming out really goofy and sounds weird. I think he should have just left that out, and then like I don't know, I don't know. Then maybe somebody would have ended up going, "Oh, he's trying to get people to be neo Nazis or something." Who knows? But at the end of the day, it is what it is. So, got a few more minutes here. Um, well, no, got a whole show here. All right, so the next article here, this is coming from the Daily Caller. So I don't know if anybody out there, if yeah, I don't know if anybody out there has been, if you follow Barstool Sports at all. There's the Barstool Jerry, or they call him Jersey Jerry, is what his name is. And Jersey Jerry apparently has been making these accusations, which I found it like to be completely like fucking weird and just like random. But he's like accusing the actor Kevin Connelly of being a fucking scumbag who rips people off. And so Kevin Connolly is the guy that played in Entourage, if you remember that show from HBO about the actor Vincent Chase, or the fictional character actor Vincent Chase and his buddies, his entourage follow him around and, does his thing in Hollywood. And Kevin Connolly played the dude E, which was his manager, um, whatnot. So, Kevin Connolly comes off as this like innocent, always does the right thing type of guy. He's played some pretty weird characters over the years too, but I mean, for the most part, he comes off as a pretty nice guy. But now that I think about it, there have been quite a few movies. There was this one Disney Channel movie, I can't think of it, that he played in. It was like about superheroes, and like the one kid in the family didn't have the superpowers. So, yeah, but he was playing like this diabolical CEO that got a contract with the school, and he's like mind controlling everybody with like this computer program. He was pretty evil in that. So maybe that kind of makes sense now. Maybe he really wasn't the innocent looking do gooder character that I thought. But so the headline reads: Reports are emerging that Kevin Connolly is allegedly a huge scumbag who rips people off. And then, so it says, reports are emerging that Kevin Connolly of Entourage fame is allegedly a huge scumbag who screws people out of money. The first show dropped when Barstool Sports Jersey Jerry admonished his coworker for NHL star Ryan Whitney for featuring Connolly in a piece of content. He says, He's a bad person. He fucked me really bad, Jerry says of Connelly while appearing on Thursday's episode of Barstool's The Unnamed Show. Jerry then went on to explain how Connelly allegedly hired him to do content for his production company, but then unceremoniously fired him without cause or any explanation. The saga allegedly started when Jerry's partner Bob Does Sports got fired after Connelly drunk messaged him every night mad at him over nothing, Jerry told the Daily Caller. Then, after dodging Jerry for weeks, Connelly allegedly had an editor do his dirty work and cut ties with Jerry. He had an editor, he didn't even have the balls to message me, this little fucking rat, okay? Jerry claimed on the Unmanned Show. He had an editor text me in the middle of the night, "Hey Jerry, just a heads up. 2 weeks later, I'm still putting out videos. I'm making stuff for him, no answer. Hey, just so you know, we don't need you anymore." Jerry claims the former Entourage star owes him $35,000 because Jerry never breached his contract. Contract was for $50,000 part-time. He paid 15, then stopped. Breach of contract, Jerry told the Daily Caller. After Jerry's claims went public, Kelly Stafford, wife of Los Angeles Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford, claimed Connelly screwed her in a similar fashion. Did my podcast under him at Action Park for a year? Wait, I always fuck reading this part up. Did my podcast under him at Action Park for a year, Super Bowl year, had a merch drop that sold out in 48 hours and got paid absolutely nothing. Stafford told Jerry in screenshots he shared to Twitter, "My husband wants to beat his ass, but I'd rather see what happens to him in prison." Stafford continued to share that she didn't want to go public with the allegations because she didn't want to cast a negative light on her husband's NFL career. So, so yeah, that's basically it, dude. I guess Kevin Connelly is a huge scumbag. He ropes people into shit and then he doesn't pay out, essentially. Which I'm kind of shocked, dude. That's what's crazy about this Hollywood stuff, man. Like these guys are good at acting. Like that's why they are actors and why they are famous. I mean, like they're just broken people. Some are good, some are bad. Like it's wild. It's just so wild. Um yeah, dude. No, I mean like I'm trying to think of all the things Kevin Connolly played in like I think Married with Children. Or was it? No, 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 that was somebody else. It was this other show. Is it Happily Ever After? Yeah, where the old man talks to the fucking stuffed bunny and just drinks beer with him. And then yeah, let's look that up here real quick. I'll just look up Kevin Connolly. That'll be the fastest way. All right. I know he played on some kind of sitcom in the early 90s. Let's see if it shows it. No, it's not showing it there. Let's go to IMDb. He played in the fucking Notebook. Oh yeah, I think I remember that. Let's see here. God, this computer's slow. Sorry. I just wish this thing was faster. Unhappily Ever After. That was the show. He played Ryan Malloy. And who else was in that? Jeff Pearson, Nikki Cox, and then Kevin Connolly. So it was like a competitor to Married with Children, essentially. And the old man just used to get drunk in the basement with the fucking rabbit or like a stuffed dog or something. And kind of strange. But I guess it lasted for like 5 seasons. So, oh yeah, that's right. Justin Burfield played in it. He played in Malcolm in the Middle. He played Reese. So it's very interesting. But yeah, Kevin Connelly, everybody, fucking scumbag. If you got opinion about it, just go to www.tellerrightpodcast.com. Give your opinion. Be heard. Be heard, my friends. Tell it right. So, so yeah, that brings us to our next topic here. All right, for the last half of the show here, I did want to bring up this new docu series I had just seen. I think it's something important that everybody should watch. It's kind of been something that I've been following for quite a few years. Not really too hard. But back in like 2017, a lot of things started coming out about Hollywood. I think that's when Harvey Weinstein was nabbed. They were starting to talk about Jeffrey Epstein. And I want to say that's when Dan Schneider also, this guy Dan Schneider of Nickelodeon, was in the light, but he never went down for anything. He just pretty much resigned and went on hiatus so no one could get to him. But he'd been surrounded by people who basically, so Dan Schneider, how do I want to put this? So anyways, this docuseries is about Dan Schneider. Let's get to that. So Dan Schneider was an executive for Nickelodeon. He created shows like All That, Drake and Josh, The Amanda Show, Zoe 101, Sam and Cat, iCarly, and crap like that. And so there's people over the years that have worked around him, worked for him, that were working around kids that have been nabbed for pedophilia and all that fucked up shit and whatnot. And it's very concerning. But then you have Dan Schneider, who was doing some very concerning things that nobody was really questioning at the time, but they knew something wasn't right about it and whatnot. And as we can see, as time has gone on since then, they're stars that have obviously been abused because they don't have the mental state anymore that they once did, like Amanda Bynes, who was a fantastic, talented actress as well as comedian. But eventually, because of the abuse and the trauma that she dealt with being on these shows and between her parents and Dan Schneider, it was messed up and she ended up going crazy. And so that's like kind of like one of the first things you learn about is Amanda Bynes and how she started when she was like 9 years old. And basically, in Dan Schneider's eyes, she was like the golden egg. She was going to make a ton of money. She had this characteristic, this personality, or this ability to have multiple personalities, which I mean, kind of makes sense nowadays. But no, I mean, like, yeah. So he basically put her on all that, the children's sketch comedy show, but then he spun it off and created her own sketch comedy show, which started her rise to fame right then and there. She did that for a few years, which then other opportunities started opening, which Dan Schneider was heavily involved in. And so she started doing movies and TV shows. Well, then she finally gets to an age where she's not quite enough to be an adult, but she does talk to the court. They'll emancipate her, sort of deal. So she wanted to get emancipated. And that's kind of where Dan Schneider jumped in and worked between her and her family. But from what I understand is she had parents like Britney Spears, very controlling, um, and then eventually took control of her when she fucking finally lost it. And when she finally lost it, yeah, that was the end of her, unfortunately. So I guess, there's details in there. That's I don't want to like spoil this for everybody. So again, spoiler alert. But definitely check it out to get those little bit more details on what like Dan actually did. I mean, some of the accusations were that he would make. I mean, basically, he was inappropriate. He would he was sexist, so he never thought women writers could be funny. He would treat women writers like shit, and he would, yeah, tell them to come over, give me a back massage or something like, hey, I'm paying you, and I'm gonna put you to use. You're obviously not good at writing or something. It stupid shit like that. Um, the main thing is though the actual shows, the hidden sexual innuendos that are all over the place. And it was crazy because so I did actually check out the Amanda show. So I didn't watch the entire first episode, but I watched quite a bit of it. Watched everything from the beginning to pretty much the middle of it. So in the beginning, one of the first things that comes off is there's a character Amanda Bynes plays called Penelope Taint. I think it's spelled Taynt or something. And so when they talk about that in the show, there's basically Dan Schneider knew exactly what they were doing and knew that the word taint meant literally the fucking region between your asshole and fucking dick. So, but he was able to fool the ethics, the standards and ethics who actually approve this shit. Because I guess they did question it, and he was just like, "No, we're talking about like a tainted person, like somebody that's you know not clear." And they're like, "Oh, okay." But yeah, that was like the first thing in that episode. So Penelope Taint. So we're telling kids this chick's name is Penelope Taint. That's weird. But then it was like the actual beginning montage where and it was like this like little cartoon of just like voiceovers here and there of Amanda Bynes. But then there's this part where it says Dan created by Dan Schneider, and then you just hear very quickly this voice, Amanda Bynes' voice, go, "We love you, Dan." So already that was fucking weird. Then on the show, yeah, so there was some. So basically, it's a sketch comedy show, right? And so they were doing all kinds of sketches, but there was this one sketch where basically Amanda and this chick are pretending to be boys, and they're pretending to be bullies that are just not successful. They keep trying to bully people and do bully things, but in the end, they're not bullies. They're full of themselves. So a teacher thinks they're very responsible and ironically drops her baby with them. And so they're all like, "Oh, screw you, baby. We hate you, baby." They're just like bantering at this thing. And then eventually it just starts pissing all over the place. And obviously there's no baby in the stroller. It's just, a bunch of blankets, but they have something set up to mimic a baby pissing. And this thing is shooting like a fucking super soaker, and it's whacking them in the face and then like hitting them in the mouth, and definitely was not a clean scene. And I mean, these are like at the time 12 and 13-year-olds or something like that, 10 and 12-year-olds. So it's really fucking messed up. And that was kind of the thing he liked to do, Dan Schneider, and all of his um, other productions, was the basically to throw the cum shot in the show. So I think it was that show Cat and Sam. Ariana Grande is trying to open up or was it Jen McCurdy? I don't know. Trying to open up this like little, it was like a Go-Gurt packet like thing. And so it had something with like ooze in it. It was supposed to be like candy, and and it was in like one of those like straw things, like a Go-Gurt. And so they're trying to open it. She's trying to open it, struggling to open it, and then all of a sudden it just splats out over. Oh, actually, it was Jamie Lynn Spears' face. And so, like, yeah, there's a lot of that through all of these Dan Schneider shows. there's also like a feet fetish thing, and that was something I started seeing in 2017. I was reading these articles and watching these YouTube videos, and yeah. So what they would do is, I think it was the show Sam and Cat. So they had some like YouTube things set up where there was just all this other content related to the show, but on YouTube, and that was some very questionable shit because it was like Ariana Grande dumping like water on her while she's laying on her back on the side of the bed, hanging off of the bed, and she's just like pouring it all on her, like, oh my god. And then there's like another scene where she's just like jamming her feet in her mouth and crap like that. But back in 2017, that's where it was starting to come out that this Dan Schneider guy had like a huge foot fetish, and that he was doing things to like, it was like, yeah. So on Twitter they would put out a tweet saying and this was like aimed at kids. So it was like, for the show, and it was basically all kids, take pictures of your feet and do all this goofy stuff, like draw faces and dress your feet up. It's like really weird. And so basically send it, retweet it back, and, you'll have a chance your feet will be on the show, sort of deal. And that's what they were getting at, that this was this sick, like Dan Schneider move to like use social media and use his power and influence through these TV shows to get things that would get him off. Okay. But they didn't talk about that in the documentary. But they did talk about the feet thing a little bit, but they didn't like talk about like what I just said now. But like, yeah, like a lot of people were believing, though, on and off outside of this documentary, were believing that him doing that was a way to literally gather his fetish content. And some believed he was, sharing this with like-minded friends, and so they don't really get into the documentary about him having like-minded friends. They basically get at is Dan Schneider's the king. You don't talk back to him. You just stay on his good side, and everything will work out. If you're on his bad side, he will come after you. And he was just kind of like an asshole on set. In the beginning, he was real cool, but as time went on and he got more power, he, yeah, expectations got higher. The bar rises every day. No one ever does anything that he wants except his top stars, people that are on his good side. So that's just kind of how that was. But then there was the people that worked for him over the years. So there was an assistant producer called, I think Jason Handy was his name. So Jason Handy was this real charismatic guy at the time in his late 20s, and he used to be the guy that would show all the child actors around, on their first days. He'd give like the orientation, and he would just kind of be their like liaison, their, oh, what's that word? Concierge, in a way, where it was like, you need anything, you let me know. If you don't know, I'll tell you, sort of thing. And so, well, this guy, he was a predator, is what he was. And he shouldn't have been on that movie set, but it was back in the 90s, so they didn't really look into that crap. But yeah, no, this guy was sending cockpicks to little girls, and he was actually doing stuff, and basically that he got caught having, I believe, I don't know if it was having sex with the minor or if it was just child pornography. But I mean, they found out he was having, at the end of the day, they found out he was having sex with minors, and he hit all this child pornography, like a lot of it, not just like a bit. He had like fucking hard drives and video and CDs, and just like more than, I mean, any amount of it's more than you should have, but it was just more than anything that anything has in the world. So pretty disgusting. So that guy went down, I think, in like 2003. But then shortly later, there was another guy named Brian Peck, who was like this voice coach, voice actor, or no, voice. He was basically this dialogue coach that would help the children, improve their dialogue and their performance on while recording and all that stuff. And so when went down, it was never released who the person was, but it was a child actor that he was basically raping, and he went down for that. And what was revealed in this series is that was Drake Bell. Drake Bell has never come publicly out with this. He never wanted to, in fear of his career going down. And what was messed up about the whole Drake Bell thing is, so nobody actually knew who was being accused. So all these people that worked with Brian Peck over the years started writing letters of support. And some of these people were, so Boy Meets World, it was Ryder Strong and Will Friedle. Then on Growing Pains, it was Alan Thicke, and then the mom, I can't remember her name. There's actor, comedian Taran Killam. He was writing, I'm sure this guy was tempted. That was like the creepy thing. A lot of these people were saying, like, there's no way this is possible, and then there's people saying, like, if he did something, it was because he was tempted. And so it was like they were trying to make it sound like, again, they didn't know it was Drake Bell, but they were trying to make it sound like it was him that tempted um this Brian Peck, and he caved and apparently molested, so they're basically trying to say that whoever this victim is, they're the one that's at fault. There's no way Brian Peck would have done this. And then when you hear the story of Drake Bell, it's so disturbing. It's just basically like this guy basically indoctrinated himself into Drake's life. And Drake's dad was his manager for the beginning of his career. And this guy drove himself between Drake and his father, and did it to a point to where he was able to get Drake to drop his father as his manager and have his mother pretty much pick up being his manager. And the father agreed to do it. It broke his heart, but his only one concern is that Drake is never alone with Brian Peck. And the mom already was, didn't have a good relationship, and Brian Peck used that against them, basically. Knew the mom hated the dad, so basically worked her up so she would be just fuck you all the time. So it definitely went in one ear out the other, because then once the transition was made, that's when Brian Peck started making his moves and started saying, "Oh, I can drive Drake to his auditions, and and I can work with you directly at your home and with the voice acting." But then that changed to, "Oh, we're going to just do it at my place." And then because Drake lived so far out from where of LA, that's when Brian would be like, "Oh, well, you should just stay the night, so because it's going to be easier, so I'm not dropping you off at midnight and whatnot, and we'll drop you off in the next morning." These are all things that didn't make sense, but Drake was just going with the flow. It was like whatever, and then eventually this guy started sexually assaulting him. Drake woke up to it, didn't know what to do. Basically, knew he couldn't run away. He couldn't just call his mom and say, "Hey, I've been molested. Come pick me up. I'll wait for you." Those are his like exact words. Like he couldn't do that because like you know what I mean. It's just like when you think about it, you're right. Yeah, logically that's what you would do, but you can't do that because somebody is putting harm on you essentially, and it could get dangerous. And so a lot of this started coming out. The reason why Brian Peck went down is because Drake was getting older and he was trying to run away from this, but the abuse was just happening nonstop all the time. So he finally gets a girlfriend, and he's spending all of his time with this girl, and he's blowing off Brian every second he can, and it's causing this Brian Peck to be like a psycho ex girlfriend. And so the guy gets his girlfriend's house phone number and starts calling it because Drake's not picking up his phone. And, the girlfriend's mom catches all this. Here's the conversation when Drake finally talks to him. And basically, the guy is, hey, we're going to Disneyland. Come on, let's go. What are you doing? And Drake's like, you know what? I'm not going to go. I'm good. I'll talk to you later. And then, is literally hanging up the phone on Brian Peck because he's so uncomfortable and he doesn't want to deal with this anymore. So the mom pretty much questions Drake, and she's like, what's going on? And Drake's not being honest, but Drake did say, like, she knew in 6 seconds that something was messed up and wrong. And so, God bless the girlfriend's mom. She basically called his mom and said, he's going to our family therapist on Monday. Something's wrong. We need to get to the bottom of this. He's in pain and he can't. So, and they started doing that, and that's basically when they started calling the cops. And yeah, and then this Brian Peck went down. But the messed up part is Brian Peck only served like 6 years in jail, and then he was put back on set to be a voice actor for other productions. And I forget if he died or if he's just back in jail. Let me take a look here. I should have looked that up earlier. Let me see here. No, he's still alive, so I think did he go back to jail? Oh wait, here's a Where Is article. So where is Brian Peck now? So ID Docuseries, Quiet on Set, The Dark Side of Kids TVs develops into dark allegations made against former Nickelodeon dialogue coach Brian Peck. Let's see. Where's Brian Peck now? After serving his sentence, Peck was released from prison in 2005. A year later, he was hired by Disney Channel to work on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, starring Dylan and Cole Sprouse, where he did voiceover work. 3 episodes had no interaction with the cast or crew on set, per Variety. The outlet reports that he was immediately terminated after Disney Channel learned of his conviction and his voiceovers were replaced. So basically, today he resides in Los Angeles, just probably looking at child porn and being a fucking loser that should be seriously behind bars for the rest of his life. Because so the allegations made from the Drake Bell case that turned into convictions, I mean, basically the dude was sodomizing him, sticking things up his butt, and then just doing all kinds of other stuff. And when they asked Drake, like the interviewer, she's like, so what exactly, she said, what exactly happened? And then he's like, I don't know how detailed. He's like, I don't know if I can explain it, on camera here. And she's like, explain it as comfortable as you can. And he's like, let me just put it this way. Everything dark and evil that could happen to you happened. And then he kind of left it at that. And yeah, that was messed up. And it's crazy to find out that it was Drake Bell was the one. I mean, you kind of looked at him on TV and you're like, as a kid, you're just kind of like, he's a cool dude. I want to be like him. I want to have that shaggy hair. I want to be this, musician like he was, sort of thing. He was just a good role model, but it's just now it's sad to think that he was just being abused this whole time while we as kids at the time were enjoying it and we didn't know. Basically, I mean, you could argue that the abuse is what shaped the type of character they were, and that's just kind of sick to think about, and fucked up. And the thing with Drake Bell, he didn't become like Amanda Bynes or, Britney Spears. And, he actually seems to be a very level headed person, but he did not deal with this well. And that just wasn't shown in the media like some other actors, you know. I mean, there were headlines, he got DUIs and stuff. Yeah, he was getting heavy into drugs and alcohol. And I guess last year he fucking walked off for a while. They had like a search party looking for him, and they found him. And yeah, he lost it. And when he was found, he was fine, and he basically was just trying to get away from everything, trying to clear his head. So then he checked into rehab, and now he's been a clean sharpshooter. Unfortunately, got divorced, but he has a kid with this lady. So hopefully, like, there's more positive now that he's getting help that he needs. He's cleaning up, and he's not letting, I guess, this negative past consume him. He's gonna move forward. He's gonna try his best. So I guess the moral of all of this is when we were kids, at least when I was a kid, I always thought it would be cool to be on TV. And it's kind of like how all these child actors were too, that we looked up to, that we watched, that we watched on Nickelodeon. All those kids were in the same boat, just like we were, you know, like how cool would that be to be on a TV show, be a TV star at a young age? And it was like every kid's dream. But now to learn that it was a very abusive and, really hectic climate, as well as a dangerous one, it's messed up. And it's messed up because it's just like a machine. Nobody, a machine doesn't question other parts in a machine. They all work together, and they do what that machine does, right? And that's just kind of how Hollywood is. Everyone's just a cog in the machine, and we know we got to get something done. And things, when we see things that aren't right, we tend to just blow it under the rug because we know the end goal is we got to get this done, you know, and that's just not the right attitude to have. It's fucked up, and these kids suffer from it, and they're talented too. They could go on to do a lot of things, but they break down. I mean, we'll go through it real quick. I mean, there's Amanda Bynes, there's Lindsay Lohan, there's uh, Britney Spears. I'm trying to think. There's all those. There's also male actors too, but like definitely, Drake Bell. There's Corey Feldman, and then the Haim, Corey Haim, and actually that's we'll end it off with this. Or no, we won't. Basically, there was I'll just explain it. I don't feel like sharing it. There was a TikTok where Corey Feldman was basically approached, being asked about this whole Drake Bell thing. And so Corey obviously is like, I believe it. I believe his story. There's fucking sickos out there. Even brings up Brian Peck, how he was rehired to work on 2.5 Men after he did his time. And basically everybody just says it's like it's impossible to work in Hollywood. like like if you are a registered sex offender pedophile, like there's a kid on just about every fucking set, just about. So there's not a whole lot of things you can really do, but they were letting them again. And of course, everybody, he was fired from Disney. We just heard that, right? We just read that. So, but all right, everybody, I think I'm going to end that here. Thanks again for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. You know, again, check out www.tellitrightpodcast.com. Really like you guys to get some comments out there. If you see things online that's worth talking about, shoot them over there. We will talk about them on this show. But if you want to say anything, just say it. Tell it right. Well, it's all good. It's all good in the hood here. So yeah, check out www.tellitrightpodcast.com. Leave comments. Check out the content. All of our updates will be up there too. Like we're not going to record a show, or if we're going to, whatever, or whatever, we'll have announcements up there. But thank you again. Greatly appreciate it, and we'll see you for episode 69. Peace.
Tell It Right Podcast.